Let's answer question number 1. Brian is saving money for a new iPad. He received $80 for his birthday and plans on saving $20 per week until he has enough. Fill in the table below. So people get confused a little bit on this one because they forget this first week is 0. So before he starts saving the $20, he already has $80 from his birthday, right? So at 0 weeks before he starts saving, he has that $80, right? And each week that goes by, he gets $20 more. So 80 plus 20 is 100. And all we're going to do is simply keep adding 20, right? 120, 140, 160, 180. You could finish it yourself. Pretty simple, right? So from the table, derive the equation in slope-intercept form. So they want to know y equals mx plus b, right? So remember, m stands for the slope, which is the change in the y values divided by the change in the x values. So it looks like the y's in our problem are going up $20 each time, right? So the change in y would be 20. And the change in x, they're going up by 1 each week, right? So change in y over change in x, that would be 20 over 1. So I get y equals 20 over 1x. And the y-intercept is when x is equal to 0, what the y value is. Well, when x is equal to 0, the y value was 80. So you're always looking for when x is 0, whatever that y value is, right? So it's positive 80. So another way to write that would be y equals 20x plus 80, right? I could write it that way, or 20 over 1x plus 80. How much money will Brian have saved at 30 weeks? So remember, x is weeks, right? So I know that I'm going to take that 30 and plug it in for the weeks, which is x. So this will say y equals 20 times x. Well, x is 30. 20 times 30 plus 80, right? So I know that this is my equation. So I know that I have to do the multiplication before the addition. So 20 times 30 is 600. And 600 plus 80 is 680. So after 30 weeks, he would have $680, right? If the iPad costs $520, how many weeks would it take for him to save enough money? So this time, instead of plugging in for X, we're going to be plugging in for Y, right? That's the money saved. So I'm going to take that 520 and plug it in for Y this time. So it'll be 520 equals 20 times X plus 80, right? Well, this is just a two-step equation. Line down our equals. So I know the next step when solving this equation is going to be I have to try to isolate x, right? Get x by itself. So I know I need to add or subtract something. So I go to the side with the variable and I say, how do I get rid of 80? Well, I subtract it, right? And whenever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other. So I'm going to subtract 80 from both sides. This side cancels out. 520 minus 80 is 440. Bring down my 20x. And how do I undo this multiplication? 20 times x? Well, I divide, right? Divide both sides by 20. 440 divided by 20 is 22. So I get x equals 22 weeks. It would take 22 weeks to save $520. This last question says, how much money would he have saved at 1 year? So we can't use 1 year. We got to change it to weeks, right? That's what we're dealing with in this problem. So we know there's 52 weeks in a year. So we're going to plug in that 52 for x, right? So it's going to say y equals y equals 20 times 52, right? It's 52 weeks in a year, plus the 80. So again, I know I got to do multiplication first. 20 times 52 is 1,040. And 1,040 plus 80 is 1,120. So it would take, to save $1,120, it would take 1 year, 52 weeks. All right, I hope that was helpful.